And we are live.
Hey, everybody.
Yay! Hi, hope you're signing
Hi,
in.
everybody.
Anybody who's new, we don't know that you're here unless you type something into the comments. So please say hello, wave at us, talk to each other so we know you're here. And if you want to be on a fly on the wall and be incognito, that's okay too.
Make sure you say where you're from. So I
Yes.
kind of get a feel where we're talking.
Yeah, that would be great. That's an awesome. I've not asked for that, and I'm gonna do that. So yay, Rachel is here.
Hey,
So
Rachel.
present. So Rachel is in Washington State. Rachel, you can kick me in the butt if I'm wrong.
Seattle. You were right. Woohoo.
Yep, there you go. So thank you, Carla, for getting on.
Thank you for having me.
I let you everybody that gets on to do their own introduction. So it's just who you are, what do you love, what do you do? Go for it.
I am Carla Goldberg, and I am currently in Texas, in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born and raised in Alaska. And we recently moved to Texas. My husband's retiring, and I had job change. And so it's interesting you start off with the compass because I grew up sailing in Alaska, of all places.
Oh.
My parents sold sailboats in Alaska, which, any person with a business plan would be like, what the, but so I grew up sailing, teaching people how to sail, tie knots, history of boat design, all types of things. Very interesting childhood, which I loved.
Okay, so we are stopping right here because anybody that knows me knows that I lived on a sailboat for 8 years.
Well, there you go.
You go.
What kind of boat?
The first one was a 24-foot Irwin.
Oh yeah, Irwin. Yeah.
So like when I was cooking, I had to kind of bend my knees because my head, would touch. And we fixed it up, sold it, and then I got a Banger 37. So it was a big wheelhouse, and I loved it and started raising babies. And then we fixed that up and sold it. So my last one was a Passport 42.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I wrote for Cruising World magazine. So yay, high five.
Hey, one of my articles was in Catalina magazine.
Yep.
I did a feature of a guy who traveled on a Catalina, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing because I grew up, from age 5.
Yeah.
Just beachcombing for hours. And hey, Gretchen.
Hey, Gretchen. In. Yay. You just missed that we're kindred spirits on sailboats.
Yes, it's awesome.
So then you got to share a story. What did sailing growing up in Alaska, what did that teach you? What part of that chapter of your life impacted you?
I think just being content with who I am, because my brother was older, but he's like 3.5 years older. And it was, it's far enough that, he was 4 years ahead of me in school. So, we didn't have the same friends. I was the annoying little sister. So I pretty much just did stuff on my own. And I would literally go out and beachcomb for hours, and, it was a different time back then. I'm 54. So kids could just go out for hours and there was no, anyway, it was a different time. Yeah. And so I would just go out and beachcomb all day. And so my brother was always pushing everything. So we were allowed to bring stuff back that we found. And my mom made the mistake of not clarifying what that meant. And he brought back some shells that still had the mussels, the creatures inside them. And the whole boat stunk of like nasty, decaying duck. And so after that, she had to check everything we brought in to make sure there was no live creature.
Yeah. Either that or stick them in a boiling pot of water.
Yeah. Well, no. But yeah, I grew up, we we'd go cruising, and we went from Seattle to Seward, sailing several times across the Alaska, and we do little puppet shows, and we just make a time where you had to entertain yourself. And it was certainly a skill that I wish my own children had.
Yes.
Entertain themselves without something, a device, or just go play and use your imagination. And
so I'm going to interrupt for just a second because this is so cool. So my daughter, I was, the last 2 months I spent up in Oregon helping with my granddaughter while my daughter was graduating from college. So she was writing papers and doing finals. And we had this discussion because we're sitting in the living room, and I kid you not, there's like 10 toys on the living room floor, right, of all different shapes and sizes. And I'm sitting there going, thank God you don't live on a boat, because I didn't have any of these raising kids on. So a boy and a girl, and they used their imagination, and we'd go up the intercoastal waterway, and they were shooting pirates from the cockpit, and they did a lot of reading, but we didn't have TV in Sesame Street when obviously we were out on a boat. So anyway, yes, that's something that's missing today.
Yeah, my mom, she also made the mistake of letting us pack our own when we were. So we had a boat that we were going to bring up from Seattle to Seward, Alaska. So we leaving Anchorage, fly down, and we had our duffel bags full of stuff. And she was told, pack what you need, because we were old enough, we knew what we needed. So I would say 75% of my duffel bag was stuffed animals, and then a few pair of clothes, because that's all I needed was my stuffed animals. And my mom got down there and she's like, what? And she was livid. And but you're on a boat, you don't wear clean clothes all the time, there's no place to clean them.
Right. So when I was living on a boat, it was a pair of shorts, my bikini. Most of the time I was topless because we were out in the middle of the ocean, anchored somewhere. And I was from 17 to 24. So whole different body type at that age, right? So I probably had a little carry-on of clothes to my name, right? Oh my gosh, I look at my house now and my closet now, and I'm like, oh my God. I'd sink the boat. Anyway, so we're here. And so obviously you and I did not foresee this being part of our story today, right? But yay. But it is, right? So if you want to continue on that, or I know there's a few stories you were thinking you wanted to share. So
so people always ask, how'd I end up in Texas? And I'm kind of a research freak. My husband was getting retired. And so I researched all the states in the lower 48 as to where to move to. And I was looking at, because my husband's getting older, I was looking at how are they taxing pensions, inheritance tax, all these types of things. And we wanted someplace warm. So we didn't want to do a lateral move to like Minnesota. That we were tired of ice and snow. And so we ended up in Texas. And then I did the same thing researching Texas and got El Paso, because we wanted a place that has low cost of living, but healthcare, things that you start thinking about as you get older into that phase of your life. And I used to be a teacher, and my last 3 years I taught preschool, but my whole career I was preschool through 8th grade. And I love teaching preschool, but it was just it was just too much. It was just too much. Education has changed a lot as to what's expected. And I love the little guys. They were certainly my favorite. And I kept trying to get lower and lower, but preschool was as low as it got. And still, I'm not a baby person, but I love preschool because they just love you. Yeah. And whatever you say is golden. And, everyone would hear, Miss Carla said, blah, 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 blah at home. And it's kind of like, okay, well, it puts you on a pedestal, but then you always have to like watch. Okay, I can't.
Right, because then you got the parents calling you at 10 o'clock.
Exactly. But I love teaching, but it was just too much. And I had an incident where I wasn't planning on sharing this, but it's coming out. So one of my preschoolers in December of the COVID year 2020, was murdered, stabbed to death by his mother, who we saw every day dropping and picking up. And I never would have, I mean, she was weird. She's kind of, we would have called her a hippie, kind of flaky, but probably, I'm sure, bipolar. But, we never thought dangerous, just weird.
Yeah.
Definitely weird. And I think she lost it. I don't know. They're still starting the beginning of her trial 2 years later. But that incident, I felt like it aged my teaching career like 10 years. It was just like total devastation to, someone that, we saw every day, twice a day. And, she would say hello. She was pleasant, and not that means anything about what we're capable of or not capable of.
Sure.
But that really kind of like, I am on the phase out after dealing with that, because
I can't imagine.
Yeah. And it really tainted us. I had a teaching assistant at the time, and you start questioning everything and everyone, and anything that happens, you start to wonder, and it's just, I couldn't live like that. It was just too much to deal with.
I can't imagine, and then not seeing the child that comes. And that's one of the things, and I don't want to go down the mental health road. I am not a psychiatrist or psychologist, but we can't see when someone's suffering from mental health most of the time. Like you say, we don't see it. It's not like we have a runny nose or bumps from chickenpox or whatever, right? We don't see it and don't know what's happening. And I can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
And we're taught and trained to act like everything's okay, because that's in our society. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot to process. And then with everything else that's happening in the education, my kids are now out of school. And there's so many demands that are put on teachers that are totally unreasonable, and expectations, as a teacher, it was great if we only worked 60 hours a week, and we're not paid 60 hours a week.
No.
Living in Alaska, I was lucky. I at least was paid well. The retirement plan sucks, but I was paid well, which is more than most of the states.
Yeah.
But it's a real struggle. So one of the things I like to do, because I'm now out of teaching, I'm an instructional designer at a bank, and I love it. And my passion is to kind of reach back and pull those teachers that are at that bad mental state, because it's kind of like an abusive relationship. You start to feel better about yourself, and then they throw all these new mandates, and then you start all over, and then you get that process, and oh no, well, that's not good enough. You need to do it this way. And it's just this constant negative stuff that happens. And so I want to help them get that the right mindset to like, hey, there's a place you can be respected, people who love you and want to work with you. And it's hard. It's like that abusive relationship where you get into it and you think there's no way out. So that's what I want to like pull those teachers and help them. We can do this. And I do a coffee chat I'm going to be doing about twice a month. And it's just connections through LinkedIn, teachers trying to transition. And I'm not selling anything. I don't have the magic. There's no magic pill that, I'm not making any guarantees like those resume writers. I'm just sharing what worked for me. And, I made a lot of mistakes on the way. And I love to help people navigate that.
It's a wonderful service because, everybody's healing, or how everybody, gets into a positive mindset is not a one size fits all. But however, you're creating a room, a space for everybody to figure it out together. It's safe. Mm-hmm. Hey, this works. This doesn't work for me. Journaling works for me, but not for me. Right. So whatever that looks like in your room, we need more of that. So thank you for offering that. And my brother's a teacher, And I have a friend whose son is a teacher, and it's not easy. It's
No.
just not easy. And everybody that I know, so I don't know a lot of teachers, but the teachers I do know love the kids for the most part. I mean, my brother has high school science, so there's some high schoolers that are not very respectful. So I'm not going to say right. He's not at that 5-year-old phase where they love to give you a hug every morning. But for the most part, he loves the students. It's the mandates. Sometimes it's the overbearing parents that, he gets a lot of parents saying, please pass my kid, even though they don't deserve it. I hear all these stories. So there's a lot of pressure.
There's plenty of stories.
but how you're impacting them and helping them transition. Hey, Carrie, same. So I think that's what I know about you on LinkedIn, because we met on LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I know. That's what you talk about. So share more about that.
So I have so many friends who are still teachers. And, I see how many, the best teacher I know and I've ever met was across the hall from me, mm-hmm. my hall mate. And she is so dedicated and works so many hours, and it is just heartbreaking. But she knows if she teaches kindergarten, she knows if she doesn't do that, her day will not be successful. And, my big regret as being a teacher is I sacrificed my own family to take care of other people's kids. And that is incredibly sad. And no one should be put in that position to even have to make that kind of choice. Mm-hmm. And teachers starting out in Alaska, they're making like 45, 46,000. And, if you ask a corporate person, a CEO or someone who has to make all that type of, high level decisions, and sacrificing their own family, or doctors, they're typically not paid $45,000 a year to make those sacrifices. And people say, yeah, but you have summers off. We're in detox. We are still in detox before and we have to start back up. And we're just finally starting to feel like I'm a normal human being again. I can feel like I can breathe and just take a walk and not have all these thousands of things bumping around in my head that I have to do.
And I'm going to add to that, because I know, I know teachers, a lot of teachers work through the summer with tutoring and stuff, because they're making $45,000 a year and need to supplement their income. So I'm not saying not all teachers have all summer off either.
Yeah, I always worked. I was lucky and had park jobs. So I worked for the park and, doing landscaping and gardening and things I love. So I would plan all year for my 3 months of summer job that I love, which is kind of messed up.
Yeah. So I got to congratulate Carrie here. He says, off topic, 320 days, no coffee or caffeine today. So that's huge.
Wow.
I'm not sure you'd have to arm wrestle me down for the coffee. Anything else I probably could give up. I'm not sure coffee's one of them. So I'm impressed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what do you want more of? How did anybody who listens to the recording or anybody here today, do we want to connect you with teachers? What do you need?
I'd like to connect with teachers. And one thing I want to say to those teachers out there that are trying to make this transition is, how you look back and you think, oh, well, I should have done that. Well, one of the things I should have done is had some downtime, because I went from in March or April, I had surgery. So I didn't go back to school because I was using that to my recoup time for my surgery, because I had to have surgery while I had health benefits. So I had surgery, and then we moved, and then I broke down my brand new Hyundai Tucson hybrid, less than 3,000 miles. I broke down in Canada and was stuck for a week, which is a whole nother story. My brand new car. I'm not resentful. Can't you tell? So
Yeah,
anyway,
let's not
so
go
then-
down that path because then I can start complaining
Right.
about my plumbing that's not working right now.
Exactly. So anyway, so I was, applying for jobs. We're moving from state to state. I'm the mom. I'm trying to coordinate all these things. And then I get down here in Texas and I'm applying. And then I got a job and it was like, I never had, and I realized this just within the last couple of weeks, I never had time to just like sit and get myself in a good mental state so I can be a better employee. I'm doing my stuff and I'm doing my work and I'm exceeding expectations, but I'm not where I want to be mentally, where I normally am, where I can like, this is, when you start a new job, you need more oomph to kind of figure that out.
Yeah. And you probably have anybody that's on the call or on this live right now who's a coach, other people too. I'm not going to just pick out coaches, but I'm going to kind of zero in on Gretchen, right? So me, Gretchen, anybody else who's a coach, we're sitting here going, yeah, self-care. Yeah, self-care, right? Let's talk about self-care, right? How important that is to take care of yourself. So I love that you have a group where you're supporting teachers on that, and that, you unfortunately had to learn the lesson the hard way, but I'm raising my hand too. That's how I learned my lessons.
Yeah. And like most things, when you're teaching it to others, you usually, at least for me, speaking for myself, I have myself a higher standard because, I'm doing this, I'm living this. I'm very transparent. So, my life has to match up with my beliefs. So when I'm screwing up, there it is. It's out there for you.
And we're human. None of us are perfect. Coaches too. So there are days I'm going like, I should know better when I'm second guessing something or having a rough day or, working 12 hours on growing my business. And I realized I did a post not too long ago where I haven't walked all week because I've been so laser focused on working on growing my business this week. And oh my gosh, it's the end of the year and preparing for 2023. And it's like, yeah, I know better.
Yeah. And the sad part is people think, oh, self-care, you need to just take a bubble bath, and it's like, no. I mean, yeah, that's
well, sure, thing. But that's not
that's just, it's a whole mindset. And you have to like get in that, you have to be away from all the jabber, right, happening in your life to just calm down enough to get a mindset that like, I'm important and I'm going to do this. Unfortunately, I was in teaching 10 years, and before that I had young kids, so it's taken me this long, I'm 54, to finally like, this is year of Carla and I'm going to do this right.
Yeah. So. Yay, the year Carla. So is 2023, have you ever picked a word of the year? Like your word, your theme, your sentence? No. And Karen Benson, hi, you're probably rolling your eyes because we just we have had this discussion, right? But do you have a word is it going to be the year Carla? Is that your phrase for 2023 or something new?
It is right now.
Okay.
It'll probably change, but I just really want, some kind of self-discovery, and I'm an empath, if you know what that is. Yep. And so, I always questioned a lot of things growing up because my parents didn't know how to deal with that. And, I would pick up what other people their emotions, and I thought they were mine. So I had a very confusing childhood trying to navigate that. And sure. I'm to the point that I'm like, that's that person's feelings, and boom, I'm leaving it on the ground, and I'm not taking that on. So it's kind of a whole new rediscovery of who I really am. And, I'm kind of old enough that I'm, as you get older, you're kind of like, whatever. I don't care what you think. When you were younger, it was a big deal, but now it's like, your problem, not mine.
Yeah. So I kind of liking that word rediscovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So I'm just trying to, learn about energy work and stuff that I know that for years, this is what I was supposed to be doing, but just didn't, how you run away from.
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I love energy work. So I went to a place called the Optimum Health Institute, and we ate raw for 2 weeks, and it was really hard. And I got a healing energy massage, which I've never had in my life. And it was phenomenal. It's hard to explain, but that energy massage was phenomenal. It worked on my chakras. I mean, it was a learning experience for me, but I have never walked away feeling so good. So go for it. I mean, I know it kind of sounds wooey in that, and not
it does. It absolutely does. And
it's okay.
If you haven't done it, it's even more woo woo woo.
Yeah, but it was amazing.
Yeah, it's something you can't describe. For those of you who don't know, like the person can put their hand across you, and you can just feel the energy coming from them. And I've had many times where my person's working on me and I think they're touching me not in a weird way, but it's like I think she's touching my shoulder, and I look and no, her hand's this far away from me. And for people new to it, if you just put your hands together and you just feel that tension, that's what energy is. And blind people can actually feel it as they get closer to a wall. And it's there. Our worlds are just so noisy, we don't hear it.
So my energy massage was both. It was a lot of putting your hands over and finding where there was blockage, and there was scents that was wonderful, and the music lightly in the background. And wherever she felt things that weren't quite aligned, then she did massage me for real. So it was a little bit of both. Anyway, I don't want to go into the details, but it was an hour and a half of pure bliss. And when I got up and walked away, I felt so centered and grounded.
Yeah, there's no logic, you can talk about all the chakras and all that stuff, but it's I'm a very linear kind of, logical piece of me. I'm a creative piece, but a very logical piece also. And I know the logic part just doesn't, but it's like if you do something and you feel good, and it's not hurting anybody and it's helping you, do I really need to understand it? No, there's a lot of things I don't understand, but they're still there.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't believe in coincidences, right? So I do believe that, the universe has a play in it. And a lot of people will roll their eyes at me when I say that. And I'm okay with that. Like you say, as I get older, we don't have to all believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm really firm on there's no coincidences. So anyway, so I'm going to, because we're nearing the end, or actually it's okay. We're going to go a little over, and that's fine because this has been super fun. So so you kind of already given us a sneak peek into the energy work, but you're going to write a new chapter in 2023. Give us a sneak peek. Let us hold you accountable. Throw it out into the universe, into live streaming. What's your next chapter? Yeah.
I really want to learn and just sit in it. And I'm always giving to other people. And I think it's just time for me to just sit and absorb it and absorb what the universe has been trying to teach me all along. But I know better than the universe. So I took the long path.
Yes. I love that. The universe, I wasn't listening. Yes. And I truly believe that not every year has to be a growth year. Right. Some years are going to be a plateau year where I'm just going to settle in, get more stable, build my foundation. And then the year after that can be a growth year. So good for you. So yes. And self-care, right? And fun, all those kind of things.
Yes.
Before I forget, so I put the post back up from Karen Henson. I have some teacher friends that I will be sharing this with. Awesome. How do people find you?
LinkedIn is the easiest way.
Okay.
Through LinkedIn, and they can, send me a message, and I usually reply unless you're like, hey, ... Yes,
I know. I just did
or those weird, creepy, don't do the weird, creepy, and I'll reply.
I want to say it was yesterday or day before yesterday, and I posted it on LinkedIn and Facebook, where some person, some human direct private messaged me and said, "You are so obedient," or something. And I'm like, what?
This person does not know me.
Well, no, he doesn't know me, but obviously he wants some female in his life that's going to be obedient or
be
something.
Obedient. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so thank you for sharing your next chapter. Last question. Gretchen's been on, and Gretchen and I had a blast too.
Yes,
she came on, so she got this question too. So when you're having an off day, feeling low, maybe your mindset's in the gutter, kind of thing, what do you do to switch the radio station to more positive wavelengths?
I spend time alone. And sometimes people think this is weird, but I love going to the movies by myself. And it's just, I sit in the dark and eat my popcorn and I forget about the world and I come back out differently. Another thing I've always loved, the, sitting by the dock of the bay song. And I just kind of,
yes,
it settles me and calms me. And so, yeah, music is good.
That's one of my favorite songs too, Sitting at the Dock of the Bay. I will spare everybody me singing it, but I really want to break out and start singing it because I love to sing. But I am tone deaf for real. I'm not exaggerating. My kids say, "Mom, if you were on a cruise ship and you were doing karaoke, the captain of the ship would yell, 'Abandon ship.'" So that's how they tease me.
I'm more the doo-wop, wop kind of people. I repeat what's around me. So if I'm next to someone who can't sing, it's bad.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. So it'll be bad. So Rachel's reminding me, my post said, you said well behaved. Yes. He direct messaged me and said, "You are so well behaved." And I'm like, even my mother would throw up if she heard that. All right, Carla, thank you. Anybody have any quick questions? We'll hang out for just a minute. If you have any questions, comments, find Carla. You know what? I don't see your name underneath you, and usually both our names are underneath us, so I have to check my restream and see why our names aren't there. So Carla
with a C, C-A-R-L-A, and Goldberg, like Whoopi or the wrestler, if you're more into the wrestling.
And just to let you know, Carla, this takes about maybe 15 minutes, but it will go into LinkedIn and Facebook, and then you can go in and make comments and answer anybody that you might want to answer, or you can go in there and put in your contact information too.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for showing up and making it fun.
Yes, it's been a lot of fun.
All right. Awesome. I want to say I have one next week. But obviously not Christmas. I'm not thinking, I don't know, not sure, but obviously I advertise it well when I do. So you'll see it. So I'm going to shut up now and say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.